chapter clicked in to College Volleyball Weekly on Viral Volley Media. Now here's your host, Rob on mic.
All right, we've got the After Dark episode of College Volleyball Weekly, and our missing friend on the show this morning who had plenty of salt thrown at him, but it wasn't there, is Jay Hosack of George Mason. How's it going, Jay?
Wonderful, everybody. Welcome to Fairfax. We're excited to have everybody coming out and enjoying the weather in Northern Virginia and enjoying the surrounding areas. And we're just pleased as punch that we get that chance to host the nation's best in a week and get it all underway.
And that's why we've got Jay on. We've got to be sure to get that out there, that national championship tournament in Fairfax, Virginia, Northern Virginia, and Jay's home area. And everyone can camp on his lawn and backyard during the entire week. Just kidding. No complaints in the neighborhood, or else he'll get kicked off his golf membership there. So
that's right. This is my shirt for the day.
For you, those of you listening, is I hate golf, and I miss the rest of it. I hate golf. I hate golf. Nice shot. I love golf. There we go.
Yes, there it is. There it is.
So, Jay, before we start talking about everything that's to be happening in the upcoming week in Fairfax, let's talk about the national tournaments that happen within the conferences. Just want to get what particular conference tournaments caught your eye and results this weekend. And we talked this morning. If you want to listen to it, we did the recap of the non-berth conferences, which is a SIAC and NEC, and then we talked about the IVA winner. But what else happened around the nation that caught your eye and that you wanted to chat about?
I'll be real honest with you. I think this year panned out the way everybody wanted it to. I think the only one that was maybe not a surprise, but was a little bit of okay, that's all right. And then we didn't expect that, was maybe the Ohio State match against Ball State. Ball State obviously won last year, and they were having a historic program year for Doan and Cruz and his team in his first year as head coach. And I think everybody thought that this year the MIVA, and we talked about it early in the year, was probably the most hotly contested conference in the country, and it turned itself to be true. And not only did McKendree come out of nowhere and beat Loyola, and that was a massive upset in MIVA history. But you had two teams historically very strong going out in the finals, and Ohio State was probably not the one that people were betting on. And they had a great match, and it was really fun to watch. And Ohio State pulled it out in 4 at Ball State's gym, no less. And I think everybody thought, okay, that was not what we expected, but that's a good match and a good winner. And I think they were deservingly so. Ohio State's been the hot team in recent weeks, and we've been talking about hot teams all year long, and little pockets of spells where teams are playing really, really well, and they're opening some eyes to some people. And I think Ohio State was that team this week. That was probably the only one that was surprising. I think the Stanford UCLA match went what everybody thought it was going to do. Everybody was watching UC Irvine against Hawaii, and I watched that one live, and I'm not going to lie to you, that was a lot of fun to watch. That was really high-level volleyball on both sides. You had mentioned, even the one that Irvine didn't win, the one they got a little bit blown out, was still fun to watch. And that was like watching a prize fight, and just a blow after blow after blow. The ability for those guys to maintain that level of play, that was just an exciting volleyball match to watch. And hats off to Hawaii. They're getting a chance to go for a three-peat, which is the first time in a long time that somebody has a chance to do that. And so we're just excited to watch all this stuff unfold here in Fairfax and have the country's best come in and get after it.
Yeah. Looking back at the potential for a three-peat, it'd be ironic, being that the team that probably did three-peat was a Al Skates coach UCLA team, and it could be a UCLA Hawaii matchup at that final, which is what a lot of people are saying. So
no, it could be. They're set up for that, and the way the brackets work out. But man, I'll tell you what, you look at the bracket, that is not easy on either side. The first match, the play-in match, is probably a little bit lopsided. Ohio State's heavily favored in that to make it out of that match. But then the next round, you get Penn State. And then you look at the other side and you got Long Beach and Grand Canyon. That's an unreal quarterfinal setup right there where you just got some battlers getting after it, man. It's gonna be so much fun to watch.
Well, with that, I know that, you're near and dear to the EIVA, and, being what happened last year, Aaron was kind of calling for Penn State to advance out of that tournament, get the auto bid. And what happens? Princeton shows up and says, you know what, let's put on our Superman capes and pull an upset out. But different story this year in the EIVA tournament. I think that you stuck around for that one, didn't you?
I did. Well, I didn't stick around for the finals. I came home, but I was watching the finals live. Penn State was the team that we all knew at the beginning of the year was going to be one to be reckoned with. They had a bunch of guys that came back for their COVID year, Bogner and Wildman and Fisher, and they have a new libero named Ryan Mark, who's really, really good. And they got two solid middles, Toby and Owen Rose have been holding the show. And Toby went down, unfortunately, in our match. He stepped on his teammate's ankle and rolled it a little bit. So they had the next guy, Sam Marsh, come back in, and he did some good things too. But the reality is Penn State's just solid, top to bottom. They make you play. They're good players, and they've been a team that has been together for a long time, and they know that last year stung a little bit. So I don't think it was a surprise. I was a little bit bummed that Princeton didn't take a game off them and at least make it interesting. But you know what? Penn State was a team of destiny, and they went in there and handled it. But I mean, you look at what we've been talking about the entire year. There's top 5 teams or so, 5 or 6 teams that are the teams that are staying in that 5 or 6 range. And then there's 7 through 15 to 20 that anybody can beat anybody on any given night. Those 5 or 6 teams up top are the ones that are making it to the dance. You got Hawaii, you got UCLA, you got Long Beach, you got Penn State, you got Grand Canyon, and now you got Ohio State that's kind of making a little bit of a leap to get up into that echelon. But man, oh man, what a great bracket to watch. This is, in my eyes, probably in the last decade, the best bracket I've seen for the men's volleyball championships.
I think a lot of people will agree with you on that one. Even the guys this morning in the before pre-dark episode that we're doing now, they're all saying, I think that the committee got it right. I mean, they couldn't have gotten any better than this.
Yeah. I mean, could you argue UC Irvine? You could argue it. I think what hurt them in the end is that Grand Canyon just had a couple of wins against some teams that were in consideration that UC Irvine did not. But who else are you going to put in there? And besides Irvine, BYU is maybe the other team, but they lost twice to a couple of teams into consideration as well, and that hurt them. So these are obviously the best teams in the country. And the bummer is that you could have put a UCI, you could have put a BYU in there as also at larges if this tournament were to expand to 12 or maybe 16 teams. Now you get a chance to see those guys go up against somebody else when it all matters again, and it's the real dance. Until that happens, unfortunately, a couple teams are going to get left out. But I think this year is the best year that the committee got everything correct, and it's going to be fantastic.
Well, with that, if you look at the bracket, I can't remember a year where the top 3-4 teams had all beaten each other, but not the same beating of each other. So that's what made it so hard to determine who's going to be the 1, 2, 3, and potentially 4.
It's the triangle of love, right? You got Hawaii that loses to Penn State, and Hawaii, and then UCLA beats Penn State, and it's all this triangle of craziness that's going on.
You throw in Long Beach beating Penn State in Penn State. Right.
And I mean, it's just, you look into these teams and you're going, man, who is the actual favorite? And I'll tell you right now, Rob, I know everybody will argue their team. I don't know that there is a true favorite, because everybody has beaten somebody in that bracket at some point or time. And everybody can argue, oh, well, this person was missing that day, or they were on the road on this one, or this one was done at a time of the year where they weren't playing full strength. There's all those arguments you can make. Well, it doesn't matter now. Everybody's going to be going into this dance and trying to make it work. And that's the best part about this year. There is no clear favorite.
Well, I like, imagining certain scenarios here, especially with, being in your house. You're going to see the highest level of volleyball, I believe, in in, I'd say, collegiate history, because the pace of the ball, we were talking about velocity of the ball, the plays people are running in and out of system. Like, is there really an out of system ball these days with the way people are running plays?
Holy smokes. You're 100% right. And we have a radar gun. We're going to bring that into the Eagle Bank, and that's going to be for all the fans to view. And you're going to see some serves easily in the 70s. You had mentioned that you saw a couple guys the other night hit it into the mid-high 70s, into the 76, 77 range. That's ridiculous for college volleyball. That's really good. There are a handful of guys that can hit it in the low 70s on occasion.
Yeah.
There are a lot of guys that can hit it in the mid to high 60s on the regular, but to hit it in the high 70s, that's elite level serving. And you're going to see guys doing that. And it's going to be a spectacle. If you're not used to seeing it that fast, that ball moves really quick.
Well, as a lover and rather than a fighter kind of guy, I like the guys who hit those 50, 55 mile an hour hybrid serves that dance a lot, look like a UFO on, the X-Files.
So when I was with the national team with McCutcheon and those guys back in 05 through 09, we were in there and we had the radar gun, and Brandon Taliaferro, who is a decent server, not a bad server by any
means. And an assistant coach at UCLA. He
would hit consistently 55, 54, 56 miles an hour. And this is as a national team setter. Now, in Brandon's defense, maybe he was working on just placing it. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Brandon's a good guy and a friend of mine, and I don't want him to feel like I'm throwing any shade.
jhosack@gmail.com.
Yeah, I don't want him to think I'm throwing any shade. But, I mean, that was, that was an average. Now, granted, Clay Stanley was hitting it in the high 60s on the regular, and, there were other guys that could bring it, but we weren't seeing that back in the day. The 70s was not something that we were seeing even then. On the regular. Now there's guys at mid-level D1s that are hitting it in the high 60s and low 70s on occasion. It's gnarly how fast this thing moves.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I wanted to talk about the matchups, because now we're going to project some things out, because we're going to talk about the excitement that's going to happen at Eagle Bank Arena. And honestly, I'm looking at the matches. I'm like, they're going to be all phenomenal. And starting with I'm going to jump up to the upper half of the bracket there. Long Beach State Grand Canyon. You have Worley's first trip to the big dance with a bunch of guys who are wild and crazy with live arms. And they are playing some serious ball against a repeat national champion before Hawaii came onto the scene and decided to grab the last two. But what are your thoughts on that first? That's going to be an opening round matchup.
Yeah, well, no doubt Worley's going to have them prepared. I don't think that's an issue. Worley is very well versed in this atmosphere. So he's going to have his guys ready. They're going to be watching lots of video. They're going to be well prepared going in this match. I wonder if the atmosphere might be too much, or is it something that they will actually gravitate towards? They play in a pretty big gym. Grand Canyon's got a really big arena that has the wild and crazies, right? If you watch their basketball, if you watch their volleyball matches, it's like going to a rave in Europe. It's crazy. And there's lots of energy and everything's bouncing and moving. And it's just it's a really fun atmosphere to play in. They might really actually relish in this part. And so that could be maybe the part that people don't understand, is that they like that stuff. And so when they get into that atmosphere, if it's wild and crazy and things are moving and they're bouncing around, they might play pretty well.
So Jay, you're not going to offer up your fog machine and laser lights along with your lava lamps?
We don't have donors that have that kind of that money. They like to throw it in other directions rather than smoke machines. But Long Beach obviously is got a little bit of been there, done that attitude. And they know what this feels like. They know that this is business. And they're going to come in with their heads down, and they're going to get after it. Torwey is arguably one of the best middle blockers in the country, if not top 2 or 3. And he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Obviously, you've got the cast of characters around him. Godbold is amazingly hard to handle on the right side. You got the gunslinger and Aiden Knipe, who's just chucking that ball all around the gym. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. He just kind of goes up there. And then he got the outside hitter Saponis, who, where did this kid come from? Transferred from Ohio State, comes in, and now all of a sudden he's back in the big dance, and his other team is in the bracket somewhere across the way that he might see later on, which is another great story that we can talk about in the future. So it's going to be a fun match. That one's probably the most exciting in the first rounds that we're going to see for sure.
Well, you're trying to say the Big Ten matchup, the potential of Penn State, Ohio State won't be a big one? Wow,
listen, I love the Penn State, Ohio State matchups. They're always fun to watch. It's going to bring a lot of the average fan, I think, to watch because they recognize those two names. And if somebody is maybe not a volleyball fan and somebody says, hey, you should come watch this, it's Penn State, Ohio State, they're going to be like, oh, okay, well, those are two names I recognize, and they're going to go watch. I hate saying this because it makes it sound like I don't appreciate men's volleyball, but if you said it's, Podunk University against Our Lady Mother Saints of Tuesday University, nobody's going, nobody's watching. Yeah. And that's unfortunate because those two schools could probably be the best Division II or low-end Division I schools in the country. And people just don't know the names because they don't see it on TV all the time. Yeah. But yeah, that's going to be a match. It's like kissing your sister or kissing your cousin. It's it's like, it's not really what I want to do again, but we're going to do it again and it's going to happen. And sure enough, Penn State, Ohio State, it'll be a great match because they split in the season. And that's going to be exciting to watch because there's no clear favorite in either one of them.
Well, we got to talk about the number 1 seed UCLA because, we've known from the beginning of the year, they're going to be highly potent, but you just didn't know how they're going to do it. But the thing is, they're doing it every which way and being successful. They're putting in freshmen outside hitters who crush them. They got middles. Oh, this one's kind of having, he's hitting below 500. Let's put in our backup middle who's going to hit you in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk on our staff all the time, like, hey, let's keep a close eye on this guy. And if he gets below, few hundred in the middle, let's maybe below 200, 250 on the night. Let's start looking at maybe making a change. They're looking at it going, yeah, if he's hitting below 500, let's go ahead and let's restructure the lineup and see if we can get in there. That's crazy. Merrick McHenry is probably the best. Again, him and Torby are in the top echelon. McHenry's probably the best middle in the country. The kid's 6'5", 6'6", maybe. And we've touched it. We've touched the fact that I think his vert is like 78 inches. He's got a live arm. He's got a heck of a serve that is kind of like this hybrid. It's got a little spin to it. Sometimes it's got a little wobble to it. Sometimes it's heavy spin. It's crazy to try to pass that. And he's a really good read blocker. When you're a smaller blocker and you've got to see what's going on in front of you and make a move, it's easy to commit. But then you are up there so long that by the time you land and move, the ball's already hit on the pin on the outside. So he's got to have really good reading skills. And Sprague teaches and trains that, like with the best of them. So that kid's really made an impact. And in future years, middle blockers that are not 6'9" should be looking at this kid and going, this is what I need to do in order to be successful.
Yeah. Disciple, David Smith, 6'7", former Eater, national team, a long career, still playing in Poland professionally with one of the top teams in Zaxa.
Danny Farmer, 6'4" middle blocker back in the day for UCLA, played professional football for Pittsburgh and somebody else. I forgot who else it was, but 6'4" middle blocker, really successful. There's a few of them over the years, but yeah, those are two guys that I would keep an eye on in McHenry for sure if I'm a smaller middle blocker.
Now, for all you guys nitpicking what we're saying, we're just projecting right now, but not because I like making these imaginary scenarios. But if you're Long Beach State, you advance like, oh man, we lost to UCLA twice this year, and we really didn't put up a battle.
Man, that matchup, they say it's hard to impossible to beat a team 3 times in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
And where do you go? Where do you start? They're a complete team. There's no underdogs in those things. Long Beach has been number 4 for the entire year. Number 3, number 2, they were number 1 for a little while there. They're a good team. Yeah. They've got all the pieces you need. It's just a matter of, do they put it together on the night at the right moment? And, obviously UCLA is a formidable opponent, but man, that's your semi. That's a potential semi. That's not even the finals.
Well, I mean, I have to give a shout out to Mason Briggs because I got to see him at the Big West tournament. And although they didn't advance to the championship match, Mason Briggs had some phenomenal plays, and they didn't win the rally, but man, just seeing that effort from a libero, I think we're seeing probably the next wave of liberos, or a libero who can definitely garner attention. That's all-star worthy.
Yeah, there's probably 3, 4, 5 liberos in the country that are arguably in a discussion for any kind of, national team or professional at least. But Mason Briggs is top of that heap. That kid's ridiculously good. And in my eyes, he's probably going to come into the national team gym and push Shoji immediately. Probably won't be the guy this cycle, but the next cycle and moving forward, he should be the guy. He's that good. And he's going to have a long career.
Then down in the lower bracket, let's just say Penn State advances versus in that opening round match, right? They see Hawaii. Hawaii's like, oh man, it's the team that beat us on our home turf.
Yeah, and that's not an easy task. That's like beating BYU at their place, when they're, ranked really high and they're having all the pins firing at once. Here's the thing. Penn State fans are going to claim, well, if Toby's not there, that's going to be the difference maker. Sam Marsh is no slouch. He's not a bad middle blocker.
He was part of the core last year that was winning.
Yeah, he was part of that team last year. And they get to, well, they didn't make it out last year. It has nothing to do with just Sam. He was doing his part. He's a good middle blocker. And he's got that little taste in his mouth too of the dissatisfaction from last year. Does Toby make a difference? Yes. When the kid touches 18 feet, just like Merrick Henry. But he's not the whole reason why that team is going to be successful or not successful. That team revolves around Cole Bogner. Cole Bogner is the setter on that team that runs that engine, and they go as he goes. If he's having a good night, he's running the offense and they're humming all cylinders, they are going to be really, really tough to beat. And Hawaii, obviously Hawaii's good. I'm not saying that they aren't, but it's not going to be a walkover. And I know Hawaii doesn't think that. The fans are too smart to think that. The staff is too smart to think that. The players are tay smart to think that. That's another semifinal with 2 heavy hitters like that. Like, what are we doing? This is unreal. And it may not even be Penn State. That's the even better. It could be Ohio State. You never even know. I'm so excited. I wish it was next week already.
That team in the finals is going to be bloodied. Whatever team's going to be there, going to be bloodied from battle.
No doubt. And some people say that waiting until the semis to play could be a disservice, right? It could be a hindrance of sorts because you've had all this time off. You might need that rest in those 2 quarterfinal matches because those things are going to be bloody battles. I would not be surprised if both of them don't go 5, and in some of them extra points after that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about Penn State. It's like, well, they don't have Toby, he's injured, but you know what though? Oh, hello, who stepped up this year? Michelle Koval.
Yeah.
Oh, this little 6'3", and I say little, but jumps out of the gym, outside hitter from Poland.
Yeah, and the kid keeps him in system and serve receive. He's got a lethal cannon of an arm when he wants to get on it, but he shoots and rolls and tips and all this fun stuff. He's like watching a young Riley Salmon. How's that for a reference? He just slices and dices and throws all these things around, and he's just unassuming. He doesn't command a lot of presence when he's on the court. You don't see him chirping and barking. He just kind of turns around and does his thing, but kid's legit. And yeah, he's a guy you should be paying attention to if you're not already.
But if you're paying attention, like, oh, there's this guy named Brett Wildman also. Hello.
Yeah, Brett seems to be slowed down a little bit. I don't know if it's injury related. I don't know if it's anything else. He's not the Brett Wildman that he was last year in terms of absolute dominance. But what he still does ridiculously good is hit the pick and serve the snot out of the ball. And those are 2 really big things. Those are big weapons for most college teams. But Brett is among the best in terms of hitting the pick, and he hits the snot out of that ball, and he's got tail going both directions on command. It's nasty to see.
Yeah. Well, it's an exciting week ahead, but I wanted to get the other stuff, which is what's going to be happening in Fairfax. If you are coming in, what should you expect to see in the area? What are the things that Jay Hosack would be doing? Besides eating food from your wonderful wife's cooking, where
Yeah.
can people go, all that fun stuff, the insider look, so to speak.
Yep. Yep. No, I tell you what, we are a suburb of Washington, DC. And so we are what, 10 to 12 miles away or whatever from downtown Washington, DC. If you come out to Fairfax and you're staying in the local area, you have to take a day and go see all of the monuments. Go take a tour of the entire city. Go see the White House. Go see the Washington Monument. Go see the Lincoln Memorial. All those things. They are really cool to see. And this is a world metropolis city. This is where the world's best musicians and the world's best eateries and the world's best chefs and the world's best, universities. There's all this great stuff, all well located within a, 15, 20-mile radius of everything. So go check out DC. That's a major thing. Secondly, this is a world metropolis. Some of the best restaurants in the world from various regions are dotted all over the place. You want good Ethiopian food? Go to DC. You want good Nigerian food? Go to DC. You want good Costa Rican food? Go to DC. You want a good Canadian food where they have some specials like poutine and stuff? Go to DC. They've got everything you need there. That place is unreal. And there are restaurants all across the city that can cater your needs and wants at any given moment. And last but not least, you are this close to the best crab eating in the world in Maryland and the Chesapeake Bay. Go somewhere and get some blue crabs and have a good time. Put them all out on the table. Get yourself a cold beverage of choice and just crack away and start eating some crabs and having a blast, because that is East Coast living at its best and eating at its finest. I highly recommend a crab boil of some sort if you can get out here and get a part of it. So,
and the final piece I got to ask, the venue. What should fans expect at Eagle Bank Arena? And how's it like getting in there? Parking?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, it's relatively simple. There's a few different ways to get into the parking lot. That's real good, first of all. Second of all, it's a 10,000 seat arena. If you like the Stan Sheriff Center, you're going to like Eagle Bank because it looks kind of similar. It's a big round area dome. It's got green and yellow seating everywhere, which kind of similar to Hawaii. But there's not a bad seat in the house because it's a little bit more vertical. Stan Sheriff is a little bit more lateral. This one's a little bit more vertical. So every seat you feel like you're on top of the action, which is really good. Great screens everywhere. And the lighting's good. Obviously, they're bringing the floor in from Terraflex, I believe, or wherever they're bringing it in from. But it's a really great venue to watch volleyball. We played a handful of matches there in the last few years since we were supposed to host in 2020. It feels really good in there. It sounds good. It looks good. It's a great place to watch volleyball. People are going to be really excited, and all the eateries and concessions around there. So all kinds of good stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. And with that, for the viewers online, I'm get the honor of working my old friend Jay here on the play-in match. That's going to be the Ohio State King, and then the two, I guess they're calling them opening round matches, which is the Long Beach State Grand Canyon, and then the Penn State and the winner of Ohio State King. From there, you may see us in other roles as well. Actually, Jay may be on the semifinal on. Wait, I need to clarify. Those are going to be on ESPN3, the ones that Jay and I will be doing. Then it ships over to NCAA.com for the semis. And I believe it's regular ESPN or ESPNU for the final. So
I think Barney and Sunderland are working those, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. The old Net Live crew is back in effect.
We're calling in the heavy hitters for the big one. No, I am really excited to work those with you and be a part of all that stuff. And it's nice to know that we're on ESPN3. I thought we were on ESPN 22. So, it could have been
the Ocho.
ESPN
Ocho now the 22.
But no, the bottom line is we're looking forward to working together. I'm looking forward to watching great volleyball and talking about it online and getting people excited and just providing as much information as we can to the average fan and to the seasoned fan and just give them all the insights that they need in order to enjoy the show. But it is a great bracket. It's a great championship. And I'm not just saying that because we're hosting it, but it's going to be awesome in Fairfax. We can't wait to have you guys all here and enjoy it all with us.
Yeah, the Fairfax Touring Authority is kicking back to Jay right now.
Got to subsidize my paycheck somehow, Rob.
Yeah. Well, I also want to add, if you're in the in-house experience there and into that stuff, I'm going to try and do what I can there. Based on some stuff, I'm going to be on the mic now. After my online or streaming commitments, I will be in-house being the hype guy. So I'm looking forward to doing that for the semis and the final, but also we'll be doing the All-American, I guess it's called the social. So I'm going to try and get some stuff out from there and, just have you guys be a part of the experience. So be sure to follow. That'll be on my Instagram, on the NCAA MVB Instagram. So if you
That's right,
follow it,
hashtag NCAA MVB. And for those of you that are not familiar with Rob, you're going to hear the phrase "taking it to Pound Town" a lot.
Taking the downtown pound. There we go. If you don't feed the big dog, or if you feed the big dog, he's going to guard the yard. There we go. I'll throw that one out there.
It's going to be a blast. I can't wait.
Well, Jay, truly excited to get out to Fairfax this weekend and be a part of everything that your wonderful university and city is hosting, because this is a big deal. Men's volleyball is growing at an exponential rate, and we got to get it out there. And I think a 10,000 seat arena outside of DC is definitely a great way to do it, with probably one of the best brackets we've seen in years. So
without question. And we've already sold a ton of seats. So if you have not gotten your seats yet, people, you better get them, because they're going to sell out. We are really close to being sold out.
That's awesome to hear, because I forgot to ask you that question. I'm like, what are ticket sales like?
Yeah, they're really good. We have a lot of great fans out in this area, and a lot of people are coming out to watch their team play. And it's a fantastic event arena. So get your tickets. Don't wait. They're not just going to be sitting there at the office. It's not going to be like most years.
Yeah. Once Hawaii was in, all the fans be sitting behind me at the Big West Championship, like, all right, we got to go online, get those tickets. Anyone know? Rob, do you know? Yeah.
The Hawaiian fans are awesome. They will travel like crazy. So.
All right, Dave. Well, I appreciate your full hour plus tonight. So we made up the hour that you would have taken this morning tonight. So Jay Hosack of George Mason, and also great ambassador to the city of Fairfax, Virginia, and George Mason University, longtime friend, excellent coach, and even funnier dude that gets hate mail all the time. But we'll leave that for another episode.
Right on. See you, everybody. See you on Fairfax.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.